This is a demonstration
Good
of
afternoon,
Flip4Mac.
everyone. Welcome to the fifth webinar in the Sustainable Training Network program. Today's webinar is going to be presented by Terry McAuliffe from our Nebraska, Piauí, and Mato Grosso do Sul chapter. Terry will be presenting on private sector partnerships, the myths and potentials that are present when engaging or
This
private
is a
sector.
demonstration of
And
Flip4Mac.
working with private sector has always been, for some chapters, very easy, for others kind of a taboo. Some people consider working with the private sector a little bit difficult, with questions of how do you actually get those relationships started, how do you reach out to corporations, what do you have to keep in mind
This is a
when doing so,
demonstration
what types
of
of
Flip4Mac.
partnerships you can develop with corporations, and how does that pair up with the volunteer spirit of the Partners of the Americas? And well, in fact, and I'm sure Terry will be able to elaborate some more. Volunteerism in corporations is a very it's a normal thing.
This is a demonstration
the
of
whole
Flip4Mac.
notion of corporate volunteerism and under their corporate social responsibility programs is already an established activity within a lot of corporations, and their interest to reach out and support their communities in which they work is something that we as an organization should definitely look at taking advantage of and incorporating in our own activities.
This is a demonstration
So Terry
of
will be
Flip4Mac.
elaborating more on that and just some other things to keep in mind. As the title says, it's focusing on the myths and the potential. And but first, I'd like to hand over the presentation to Andrew from Citizen Effect, who will give us a brief program update and just tell us about where we are, where
This is
some
a
of our
demonstration
participants
of
are in their
Flip4Mac.
own their own individual fundraising efforts. So, Andrew.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And so, yeah, and thank you, everyone, for joining us and sitting in on this webinar today. Really looking forward to what Terry has to share with us. And just to kind of, briefly update and kind of share with you where things stand in terms of our fundraising efforts. I'm very excited to let you all know that as of today, all of you guys have collectively so far fundraised over $900.
This is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
And yeah, we're shaping up really well, and a lot of the participants, a lot of you guys have done a great job in terms of making that initial outreach through social media, email, even phone calls, and also kind of making those steps towards putting together a really effective fundraising event. So I'm really happy to see how we're looking, and just to kind of highlight one of the participants, Amy Chamberlain.
This is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
In terms of really taking the lessons learned from the webinar so far and kind of applying them into her fundraising plan. For example, she's done a great job in terms of getting together a Brazil night. It's going to be a little fundraising event where they'll have local Brazilian artwork and music, and it's on September 16th. And so her plan was using emails to kind of let people know about
This is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
And also kind of help people get involved already. I mean, the support that people can provide you doesn't always have to be through donations. For example, she has people kind of supporting her by giving them their time in terms of helping coordinate and plan this event with her. And she's also been fortunate enough to get some authentic Brazilian artwork as well.
This is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
She's done a great job in terms of making that outreach along with everyone else here. But yeah, I definitely look forward in terms of touching base with the rest of you guys in terms of making similar positive, really good steps, and engaging your community, your family, and friends in supporting you throughout this program and helping your chapter.
Well, excellent.
And
Thank you,
so,
Andrew.
Yeah, that's kind of like where things stand right now.
This is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. And I'd like to just remind everyone that for this webinar, we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. However, if you have any questions that you would like to ask on a certain topic or a certain point that Terry is presenting on, feel free to type those into your
This is a
question
demonstration
boxes,
of
and I will be
Flip4Mac.
monitoring those questions as they come up and bring them up to for discussion at the end. Terry can also see your questions in those boxes and may decide to answer one on the spot if it's if it really adds something of immediacy to his presentation. And so feel free to type in any questions that you might have.
This is a demonstration
Also, at
of
the end
Flip4Mac.
of the presentation during the Q&A, you may also use the option that is available to you to raise your hand. You can see that in the control panel just by clicking the little hand icon. I can see if you have a question, and I will call on you and unmute your line to do so. And for today, after the Q&A
This is a demonstration
portion of the presentation,
Flip4Mac.
we're going to do just about 5 minutes just to hear some of your feedback and answer some questions regarding the program itself. We just wanted to allow just some time to get some feedback on how you feel about your experience up to now, and if there are any kind of key points that you'd like to address at this time. So without
This is a
further ado,
demonstration of Flip4Mac.
we shall begin with Terry's presentation. And Terry, I will give you control of the keyboard so that you can go ahead and go through your PowerPoint.
Okay, let's see.
This is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
Michael, thank you very much, and also thank you, Andrew, for your position in this entire program. I was really quite enthused when I was asked to be a presenter, actually honored, but the effect of the program, I just wanted to say up front, is something I think is very important. Being president of the Nebraska chapter just for only a year here,
This is a
any
demonstration
guidance,
of
any assistance, any
Flip4Mac.
networking that we can do to help build more innovative and sustainable partnerships, and especially with the emphasis of doing this on a networking basis, maybe doing this together was really highly attractive for me. So I just want to say that before I get started. And so now my charge in webinar number 5 is to discuss the private sector. And
This is a
something
demonstration
I feel
of
very comfortable
Flip4Mac.
doing. I've been doing this for quite a number of years, engaging the private sector, growing the private sector, and here introducing this topic to other chapters in our partners organization. I should tell you that I've been active in Partners of the Americas for nearly the last 5 years. And I started by being a strong
This is a
participant in the
demonstration
Business
of
Fellows
Flip4Mac.
program. With my background and work, I saw the Business Fellows program sponsored by Partners as really a strong resource to advance business relationships. And that's how I looked at it. And in fact, I was so enthused with it that within 3 years, our chapter, our state of Nebraska, and myself hosted and mentored
This is a demonstration
11 or 12,
of Flip4Mac.
business fellows. And so we've had a very strong role in this regard, and I think through that process I became really more acquainted with our chapter at a local level at Nebraska, and bringing that perspective into it now as president is a little bit of a challenge. so to say, but I think it's a very important, one of the important objectives.
This
that
is
we
a
can do through our
demonstration
partnership.
of Flip for Mac.
And so it's a process that I'm going through right now, along with our membership and our chapter mission. So it's a topic very current for me. The last 30 years, I have spent actually developing business development or business growth models within university environments, within government environments, state government and federal government.
This is a
And
demonstration
also through
of Flip for
private
Mac.
sector businesses and industry associations. So I have to tell you that anytime I talk about business growth or global growth or business involvement, it's very important that we find a role for all three functions here, for universities, for their resources, for government has to be involved. It opens many doors. And certainly
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
Sector. And so as I become familiar over the years with Partners of the Americas, I see these kinds of relationships that we have through our own state chapters, and certainly at a national level and at an international level. When I travel overseas to Brazil and Latin America, I see the similar kinds of connections that our members have in their regions. And so with this,
This is a
I'm probably
demonstration
comfortable
of Flip for
in
Mac.
introducing a little bit more emphasis on how we do engage our private sector and how that can be helpful for both of us, okay? Not just one, but always both parties in a relationship have to benefit. So I put a little bit of a follow-up title here, The Myths and Potentials, and I want to go to the next slide here. Michael, let's see if I have control of this.
This is a
And
demonstration
actually, I cannot
of Flip
move
for
the
Mac.
next slide. There. Okay. So I've got a couple what I call myth busters, and over the last 2 to 3 years, I've had a lot of opportunity to interact with representatives from other U.S. chapters, and I'm always
This
talking
is a
about this topic.
demonstration of Flip for Mac.
And particularly when I ask, would your chapter be interested in private sector partnerships, it's always been kind of interesting, and it's similar to what Michael said in his introduction. For some chapters, it seems like it's a very easy topic to embrace or a very easy area to get involved in, but for others, it's like a taboo. But I usually catch some of the chapters off guard when I bring up the term private sector.
This is a
or
demonstration
business
of
partnerships.
Flip for Mac.
There's a temptation to right off the cuff say, why would your chapter be interested? Well, quick response is money. There's a lot of money. We associate money with business very quickly, and that's a perception, and sometimes it's very black and white perceptions that say we want money, we all want to sustain our enterprises, and maybe these businesses that are around our town and our region would
This is a
really love our
demonstration
mission
of Flip for
and
Mac.
want to become members. But then when they think about it a little bit, sometimes I get a follow-up response that says, wait a minute though, a number of our core members think that commercial partnerships may be, I've heard terms corruptible, and I've heard terms even unethical, given our nonprofit charitable mission. Should we be getting involved with businesses?
This is a
And I think that
demonstration
there's a
of Flip for
mindset
Mac.
here that we really do need to address, and I think perhaps overcome. You know, if we're reading the newspapers lately, we do see some pretty negative examples. I think if you're thinking about companies like AIG or some of the big oil companies with oil spills in the Gulf or in the oil pipelines that we've had recently in Montana,
This is a
and some of
demonstration
the big
of Flip
banks
for
and some of the
Mac.
failures that we read about, some of the big systemic commercial situations. If that's what you're talking about, I think that's a very different impression. But from my background, I'm very used to working with what we call SMEs, very small, medium-sized enterprises. And in the Midwest, we tend to call underserved markets. In other words, we're very interested
This is a
in working with
demonstration of
rural-based
Flip for Mac.
companies, in some cases entrepreneurs. I've worked with entrepreneur programs, but in many cases we find very good technologies, or we may find very good engineering kinds of capabilities that's very small companies or even entrepreneurs come up with, but they really don't know how to commercialize. And so this is kind of an area that
This is a
that I
demonstration
focus on
of
more,
Flip
so
for
I'm more
Mac.
comfortable in saying that it's not so scary working with smaller companies, but very good companies, particularly in underserved markets. And I'm most familiar with areas in Brazil, and I see the development going on in Brazil. And really what we're talking about is how do we partner with some of these companies that have potential to be on the rise and grow and do some good things.
This is a
for us.
demonstration of Flip for
And
Mac.
if that's where you're coming from, then I would like to maybe restructure a statement that says if you can pick the right kinds of companies that you're comfortable with, how might you structure a mutually beneficial partnership that may be centered on common objectives? And so that means common objectives maybe to your mission statement, to your own chapter, but that could also, if you begin to think a little bit more openly,
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
serve as mutual objectives for a private sector company, more on the small and medium-sized level, is what I'm thinking of. And so with that, there's a third statement I wanted to put up, and that is, why would private sector enterprises have collaborative interests? Remember, this is a back and forth issue.
This is a
If you're going to be in
demonstration
a
of
partnership
Flip
or
for
in a
Mac.
relationship, you have to collaborate on that common mission or common objectives. It's very, very important. For us in Partners of the Americas and our Western Hemisphere relationships with Central and Latin America, and certainly our situation in North America, it's very important
This is a demonstration
to
of
understand
Flip for
why
Mac.
the private sector might be responsive to us if we are to begin to approach the private sector in our mission statement. Why would the private sector have interest in your chapter's number 1 mission, in our U.S. South American membership diversity, and clearly in our Central South Hemisphere networking capabilities? Why would they have that interest? Has anybody
This is a
presented
demonstration
that,
of Flip for
question
Mac.
to them? And of course, what I respond to is, what, are you kidding? If you understand what's going on, in the private sector in Brazil and South America, it's incredibly active right now from a growth standpoint. In fact, in 2008, when I was doing some work with our
This is a demonstration of
business
Flip for
fellows,
Mac.
and I had a very important presentation that I made actually in Vitória, Espírito Santo, and I think we've got a participant whose partner is Espírito Santo. I had a presentation to the Industry Federation there, yes. And there was a very nice publication, an article that came out that was pretty well circulated. And towards
This is
the
a
end of 2008,
demonstration
I started
of
getting
Flip for Mac.
calls from Connecticut and New York from small equity fund companies. And the things they were asking me was, how are you doing this? How do you get down to Brazil? How are you building a network? Where do you go? What kind of companies do you meet? And of course, what they were interested in was my networking capabilities. And what they were interested in was partnering with me to develop boutique
This is a demonstration
equity funds.
of Flip for
And
Mac.
of course, what they wanted me to do for them was introduce them to Brazilian companies so that they might bring investment and dollars to them, which was not in my model and not in my interest. But it's interesting the value that you begin to see from a private sector perspective, and that's really what I want to address today, the time that we have, is I think there are some things of value that we have already because we are
This is a
partners of the
demonstration
Americas.
of
It's who
Flip
we
for
are.
Mac.
We understand culture, we understand language, we understand education, we understand exchanges, we converse back and forth with our partner states. We're connected. We have this network. The private sector would look at this and they'd see a value to it. And I'm not so sure that we ourselves see a value to our own organization. And it kind of goes back to this taboo area.
This is a demonstration of
we're
Flip for
an
Mac.
NGO, we're a nonprofit. We probably should not value this. But yet, on the other hand, if we're going to be innovative here and expand our mission and do more of what we do normally, but that allows us to bring in new partners or private sector partners to a mutual objective, mutual mission, there may be some sustainable steps that we can take here. And before I move to the next slide,
This is
there's
a demonstration
couple other
of Flip for
examples that I
Mac.
want to bring up. And that is, as I worked with the Business Fellows program and the exchanges that we had, I worked with our Washington, D.C. staff, and I would ask, you know, what's the value, what's the face value of all the work that you put into finding an individual from an industry federation or from a company, whether it would be in Argentina
This is a
or
demonstration
Brazil or
of
Chile,
Flip for Mac.
and bring them to the United States, and our individual chapters would host these people. And I thought it was a pretty fantastic service that we at the national level can assist a private sector individual or an individual that works with private sectors development. I obtain a visa, get on an airplane, have an airplane ticket, have lodging, have meals.
This is a demonstration
and once
of Flip for
connected
Mac.
in the United States in one of our chapters, be taken around to meet government, university, education, other companies, other industry associations, and just the face value alone could be $12,000 to $20,000. But you understand, I look at that, and when I talk to a private sector, I say that's a value, and that's something we can quantify, and I think that that's something important.
This is a
that we ought to be
demonstration of
looking
Flip for
at
Mac.
a value. There is a value to what we're doing. And to extend that value just one step further, one of my latest exchanges for Business Fellows came through a logistics industry. I worked fairly closely with Union Pacific, which is located in Omaha, Nebraska, one of the major railroads actually in the world.
This is a demonstration
and I started
of Flip for Mac.
introducing our Union Pacific globally into Brazil and South America. And in fact, on two occasions, accompanied the Vice President for U.S. Port Development to Pernambuco, to Recife. And the state of Pernambuco supplied us with a helicopter, and we flew over Suape Port. And my Vice
This
President
is a
for Union
demonstration
Pacific was able
of
to
Flip
see
for Mac.
every single agribusiness customer of his investing in Brazil. And he began to wonder very quickly, why am I not connected to this? All this activity is going to connect Union Pacific into Northeast Brazil from a logistics standpoint. It was that obvious. What was of interest, though, was during one of those meetings we had a presentation from
This is a demonstration
middle
of Flip for
management
Mac.
executive from Transnordestina Railroad up in Ceará, in Fortaleza. And they're building, again, logistics in Brazil. They're building rail lines. And there's a very strong interest for this individual from this rail line to connect with Union Pacific. And so we set up a Business Fellow exchange. And it was the first time Union Pacific Railroad had ever
This is a demonstration
brought in somebody
of
from
Flip
the
for Mac.
outside, from another company, as you might imagine, for pure confidentiality reasons, and had them mentored and had them essentially in a very high-level internship role. One of the opportunities that came after that 7-week understudy, though, was the fact that Union Pacific was in a position to be selling 36 used locomotives.
This is a demonstration
at about
of
$1 million
FlipForMac.
apiece. And it was a connection with the railroad in Brazil. They had an interest in actually purchasing those locomotives, and there was discussion about doing so. So there was, from a very simple, what we considered rather simple approach, uniting two business fellows, there was a potential impact of $36 million sales just from us doing that.
This is a
And then I began
demonstration
to wonder
of
very
FlipForMac.
seriously, was there a value to what we were doing as partners of the Americas that the private sector might be interested in? And that's why I say, what, are you kidding? And at one point I had a conversation with Steve Vedder, and I remember Steve saying, well, Terry, is there any way we could get a percentage of that deal for doing that? You know, but these are the kinds of things that open up our thinking and our innovation.
This is
and
a
really
demonstration
prepare us to
of FlipForMac.
having additional visits with the private sector. And again, putting a value on some of the things that we're doing. Okay, I've got the next slide. So, when we talk about potential partnerships with the private sector, and if you're in the United States, as we are,
This is a demonstration
and you do
of
understand
FlipForMac.
what's going on as you read the newspapers, as you're on Google, as you talk to your partners in Latin America, you understand that there is incredible wealth and investment growth shifts occurring right now, particularly in Brazil and the whole balance of South America. It's going on now, and it's very fast, and it's very furious. With that, our partnerships that we're engaged with
This is a
are
demonstration
going through
of
some very
FlipForMac.
significant socioeconomic changes, and this is good. As we know, there's changes in middle class that I'm aware of, particularly in Brazil. There's a whole new dynamics of business development going on in Brazil and South America. We really need to be aware of this. Global partnerships are needed. For the most part, we understand China
This is a
has
demonstration
been very,
of
very much
FlipForMac.
involved in Brazil as well as other parts of the globe, in India and Africa, and there's some very significant things going on there in terms of government programs responding to this, and I mentioned the socioeconomic changes that are occurring. And I think just recently, finally, in my opinion, Brazil, South America has begun to finally look back
This is
up
a demonstration
north,
of
to
FlipForMac.
the United States. And the companies I visit with in South America are very much interested now in making their own investments, not so much letting China control all the natural resources. And so there's a lot of things that our companies who we interact with up here in our own regions on a regular basis, there are things, their business models, their technologies,
This
the
is a
logistics,
demonstration
the
of
software,
FlipForMac.
all these things are partnership capabilities and reasons for partnerships between our U.S. companies and the Latin American companies that we understand through our partners' chapters. There is a need, however, a strong need for the cross-cultural, the language, the government, the social policy practices, our middle-class adjustments. Unfortunately, I think
This
in
is
the
a
U.S. our
demonstration
middle class
of
is adjusting
FlipForMac.
downward somewhere, but in Latin America, the middle class is adjusting, what, upward. There's so much interest in technology. The entrepreneurial and innovation activities and needs are very high, and you know, reflective of what we've been doing in recent years with the business fellows. There's just strong business model mentoring.
This is a demonstration of
So we
FlipForMac.
talk about all the infrastructure changes going on in Brazil, all the building, the construction, logistics for World Cup that's happening in 2014, the Olympics in 2016. You know, our U.S. market is still challenged. The price of our dollar is still very, very low. We're fighting unemployment up here. Employment is increasing in our southern hemisphere.
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
Who has the ability to form relationships? So these are all things that we can consider the high potential for business. Maybe there's a niche for what we do through our chapter that can position us with some of the high interest that we see from our local companies. So my next statement, when we talk about U.S. commercial potentials,
this is a demonstration
I'm
of
saying
Flip for
things
Mac.
are happening very quickly right now. From our perspective as a chapter member, we should understand that virtually every U.S. small and medium-sized enterprise that has commercial potential has now or should have a strong interest in establishing or advancing a Brazil or South American market. And for you to have that kind of conversation
This is a demonstration
with virtually
of
any
Flip for
companies
Mac.
should be a very easy thing for you to do. It should open up very easy conversation with the private sector company, and you should be able to have them acknowledge that they're curious or that they are getting involved with that kind of a market. You can engage them. You can easily approach the companies just based on this, just based on what's going on. From my perspective, as I talk very strong
This
business
is a
growth,
demonstration of Flip
when
for
I
Mac.
meet a Nebraska company or a company in the Midwest and I find out that they are not engaged or looking to be engaged in South America, I have strong concerns about what their growth potential is. I mean, it's that strong a situation right now. What we also know is that most of our U.S. companies, this is the first time that we've had to really reach
This
out
is a
and go
demonstration
global
of Flip for
ourselves.
Mac.
So if you understand, this is new for a lot of our small and medium-sized companies in particular. We really lack the language, the cultural understanding, the geographic understanding of this key Western Hemisphere market bonanza of what's going on. Most companies you talk to are going to say, yes, we know what's going on. We'd love to be involved. How do we get down there? I participated
This is a
in the US
demonstration
Commercial
of
Service
Flip for Mac.
program called TradeWinds a little over a year ago in Sao Paulo. We had over 140 U.S. companies show up in Sao Paulo looking for partnerships, looking to sell product, looking to get a door open in Brazil and South America. But what these companies really need is a formal platform or a guide to guide a formation of new critical social,
This is a
cultural, and
demonstration
business
of Flip for
relationships.
Mac.
Everything we would do in international business development is based on a relationship. They're just critical. And so this is a question that we would ask ourselves as Partners in America's chapters. Is this something we might be able to assist the private sector in terms of our understanding and our experience in cultural, educational, language?
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
The biggest challenge I have in dealing with mid-sized companies, they want to go to South America, but they want to bring their traditional sales program with them. And more times than not, they fail in that approach. What they really need are partnerships. They need good relationships. And to me, that's what Partners in
This
America
is a
has always
demonstration
been about,
of Flip for Mac.
is forming those relationships. So my impression very strongly says that we can engage these kinds of conversations. You should not be afraid to engage this conversation with the private sector, or if you're invited into an industry association meeting. You already have, in my opinion, the credibility, the background, the cultural knowledge,
This is a
the
demonstration
ability to
of
speak
Flip for Mac.
comfortably to business and industry, and I think that you will find that you'll have an easy year. Anything our private sector can better understand about the market is going to be very important, and I think that's a position that we can be in through partners.
This is a demonstration of
And I'm trying to
Flip4Mac.
change my next slide. Before I go forward, I want to briefly talk about the platform that we have in Nebraska. I skipped a slide here. There we go. Let me tell you a
This
little
is a
bit about
demonstration
Nebraska and
of
why we have
Flip4Mac.
this emphasis on business and our connection, certainly to Brazil and South America. In the Midwest, and particularly Nebraska, we do have strong manufacturing. We have very strong agribusiness. We have strong logistics, technology, and even investment history with Brazil and South America. We've just always had this. And of course, these are areas now that are all being developed.
This is a demonstration of
in Brazil
Flip4Mac.
and South America, from the standpoint of, for example, Valmont with irrigation and agribusiness. We have such strong logistics being on Interstate 80. The investment, the problem we have in Brazil and South America is that nobody knows about the U.S. Midwest. They all know about Miami and Boston and New York and now Houston and the West Coast. So a usual
This is a demonstration
icebreaker for me
of
is
Flip4Mac.
to bring up the name Warren Buffett with Berkshire Hathaway, and virtually everybody knows Warren Buffett globally. And so that's some of the things that we have to talk about. We really do need to present ourselves, who we are, but work on the strength of our industry and our background. We've always had, as I mentioned before, a strong participation in the Business Fellow program. So we have an understanding of
This is a demonstration
business growth
of
and business
Flip4Mac.
orientation, in our case in Brazil. And in fact, to such a point that through our Business Fellow exchanges, we actually developed a global business model. And we attached 6 stages of growth to help build that a little bit more of a secure pathway, so that we could talk to our own companies, not just in Nebraska and the Midwest, but also in Brazil and with our partner states.
This is a
Latin
demonstration of Flip4Mac.
And so if we can begin to talk the same steps for growth, it makes introductions and relationships so much easier. And in fact, in 2008, we conducted a U.S.-Brazil Logistics Industry Leadership Forum. We had more than 40 Brazilian industry and government and logistics leaders come to Omaha, Nebraska, and we had over 40
This is a
U.S.
demonstration of Flip4Mac.
Nebraska-based, regional-based companies, and we actually sat down and talked about how we would facilitate greater introductions, more business between our countries. And we have very formal results from that forum that we conducted, and I have information available if you'd be interested in that. But more importantly, we began to formalize a platform and an avenue.
This is a
for
demonstration
doing
of
business
Flip4Mac.
together. So we're actually have gotten very proactive in doing these things. We've been able to adapt a model that I helped form 10 years ago, actually a 501c3, a professional services, a consulting model, if you will, that we established specifically in the state of Nebraska for international development, technology development,
This is a
strategic
demonstration
planning,
of
strategic
Flip4Mac.
thinking, and strategic alliances, strategic partnership formation. And it's in the private sector now. We have a private board of directors, but it is a nonprofit. And it's allowed us a lot of flexibility to incorporate the 6 stages of growth and the business model that we've been working on. And if you get a chance and you're interested, you might take a look at that website after the webinar
This is a
today
demonstration
at
of Flip4Mac.
www.interasset.org. It'll give you a little bit more background of what we're doing and why we're doing it. The other thing that we started doing within the last year and a half, is we started to work on a regional basis on building commercial partnerships and facilitating business relationships between Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. We've conducted business forums.
This
in
is a
Nebraska
demonstration
last year. We were in
of
Denver,
Flip for Mac.
Colorado, and also Casper, Wyoming. And I think Dora Lee from Wyoming may be online. I know a couple of our friends from Colorado are also online. And we had initial discussions also with Illinois in this regard. Interestingly, we have contiguous states here in our regional partnership, but also our Brazilian partners are contiguous state partners as well. So we
This
think
is
we
a
can even
demonstration
strengthen,
of Flip for Mac.
what it is we're doing on a regional basis. And don't discount working on this regional basis. Last year I went to one of our sister states, Mato Grosso do Sul, and I was asked to be a presenter at a regional logistics development group. We're all familiar with Mercosur, the trade group in South America.
This is a
And this happened
demonstration
to be a
of Flip for Mac.
subzone of that trade group called Zicosul. And they cooperate with Central West Brazil states, of which Mato Grosso do Sul is a part of, Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Chile. And so here we are talking about economic development across all these regions in a broader region, broader context.
This is
And
a
so much
demonstration
was
of Flip
discussed
for Mac.
about logistics, taking product actually from eastern Brazil over the Andes, and guess what? Going to China. And nobody was thinking taking a right-hand turn and going up to United States. I was the only gringo, by the way, that was presenting at this group. But it shows you how important the regional involvement is, and so I think that we regionally can also
This
work
is a
with
demonstration
our friends in
of
the
Flip
southern
for Mac.
hemisphere on a regional basis as well. I just wanted to take a very quick look at the 6 stages for global growth, because it also takes away another myth that I think we have. We think business is so easy and you simply introduce two companies to each other and business is done, and it's done that quickly.
This is a demonstration of Flip for
What we
Mac.
have found out and what we plan for is that that's not true at all. But what's really important is to begin to start an identification process, start with forums between and amongst our partners. We've done this regionally last year with Nebraska, Colorado, and Wyoming. And in fact, one of our Colorado representatives, Sandra Robnet, I think is maybe participating in this.
This is a
program,
demonstration
planning to
of
go
Flip
down
for
to,
Mac.
one of Colorado's sister states, Minas Gerais, later this month, through an education and cultural grant from partners to begin to explore a forum process. In other words, it says, who are you? What are your networks here? Here's who we are up in Colorado and Wyoming and Nebraska. Are there industry opportunities we can talk about? And then can we come back and can we identify? Can
This
we
is a
approach
demonstration
some of our
of Flip for
business
Mac.
community that might match up well to certain opportunities? Can we introduce then compatible business partners? Is that something we can do? We think it is. And then can we help advance these partnerships through formal business metrics? In other words, do this the right way. Let's show our private sector that we know how to work with business. And again, this is where the universities get involved.
This is
and
a
certainly at some
demonstration
point in time,
of Flip
we
for
also
Mac.
need to align our investment bankers and our equity fund people. And I think this is important if we can show them we understand this process. If at some point in time we're looking for sustainable support, all of a sudden, again, we can show some value in this process. But my most important point here is the 6 stages for global growth. Keep in mind that business is really done only at this 6th stage or sigma level, we call it.
This is a demonstration of
It
Flip for
takes
Mac.
the relationship building and the partnership building for business to be really done. And that's particularly true when we're talking global. So if you have an understanding that business is a very complex process and it's very fragile, I think that's how we should approach that and let businesses know that we understand that. And the most important thing is the relationship building.
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
Okay, complementary chapter service potentials that you can explore. This is what we're doing in Nebraska, and we're beginning to do on a regional basis. We're very proactive with this, maybe on a higher level. Some of the things that we're doing at our state chapter level that we've explored, we're in
This
the
is a
process
demonstration
that
of
I think
Flip
are
for
things
Mac.
that you can also do within your chapter that I think helps you identify what your value is, and that puts you in a position to approach your private sector potential partners from a business proposition standpoint. And I think that's important. The probably best advice I can give today is see the value of yourself, and when you go and approach, and you can approach virtually any
This is a
private sector
demonstration
company
of
in
Flip
terms
for
of
Mac.
of a partnership, be able to set forth what I call a value proposition. In other words, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what we can do. We think that we know this is in our mission statement. Is this common to you? Is this something we can help you with? One area that I know is huge is just this whole area of internships. And again, if any of you are related to universities,
This is a
I am
demonstration
with our
of Flip
University
for
of
Mac.
Nebraska here, and I'm also an adjunct professor with a private Jesuit institute in Omaha, Creighton University. As through our organization, we get to know who the Brazilian students are up here. We know the businesses are looking for introductions into Brazil. If we can even help connect some of these Brazil students that are here to our U.S. companies, that's a big deal. You know, that's significant.
This is a
And
demonstration
we're doing
of
that
Flip
now.
for Mac.
And our Brazil students are learning from this, and in fact, they're even getting job offers from the companies that are opening up operations down in Brazil, and some get hired here. Formal, informal language training is something else that we're putting together here. In Nebraska, we've been a little bit challenged not having formal language, Portuguese language
This
training.
is a demonstration
Although, this
of Flip
semester
for Mac.
we are getting a professor exchange from our sister state in Mato Grosso do Sul, and they will be teaching Portuguese. But informally, we're starting to invite our companies to show up once a month, meet our members of Partners of the Americas and some of the Brazilians that we have involved, start showing them the culture, talking to them about the culture.
This is a demonstration
and
of
start
Flip for
with
Mac.
language, and even engage them in conversation. And we even have planned meetings in restaurants and bars or nightclubs to even get in that kind of an environment to get them comfortable talking Portuguese. Translation services are huge. My wife is Brazilian, and I can't tell you how many companies are asking for her assistance.
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
Connections are made in Brazil. Even translating brochures, things like that. I know some of you are from larger states in Pennsylvania and bigger states where you have these services available. That's great, but that's something we're developing here. And I know Dorlee from Wyoming has been very active in advancing Portuguese language lessons in Wyoming. But I think the businesses find this
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
and very beneficial. Last fall, we had PayPal, which is headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. PayPal makes all the transactions over the internet. They called our chapter and said, you know what, we finally put up our website in Brazil. We're doing business in Brazil now, but we need Brazilians who know the culture and the language to come and work with our website that's focused in Brazil.
This
So
is
we're
a
even getting,
demonstration
proactive
of
calls
Flip for Mac.
from the companies themselves, and PayPal is not necessarily a small company, but it shows you where the interest is. Right now, our chapter has submitted a community project grant through the Business Fellows program. We want to be very involved. We want our chapter very involved in career forums and career trade fairs where the students are and also where the companies are.
This is a demonstration
And we
of
emphasize who we
FlipForMac.
are at that point. We want to meet the companies. We also want them to meet the students, the Brazilian students and the U.S. students. And so we're planning to do this in a variety of campuses. And that's one reason. That's one way we're getting better known, and we're getting better known in this private sector arena. I mentioned the Creighton University, the Jesuit University. I was approached
This is a demonstration
this
of
year
FlipForMac.
for my wife and I to lead a group of 22 business graduate students from Omaha, Nebraska to Rio de Janeiro. They want their students to meet U.S. companies that are already in Brazil, and they want the students to sample the culture, the cuisine, Sugarloaf, museums, this type of thing. This is huge.
This is
for
a
us in the
demonstration
Midwest,
of
because for
FlipForMac.
the past 5 years, this private university has been sending their international graduate business students to Beijing for 5 years, and this is the first year they finally came and said, Terry, you know, we understand we have not been in Brazil, but we cannot neglect it any longer. So here's an opportunity for us to bring our U.S. students down to Brazil and go the other way with this. So we're really looking
This is a
forward to this.
demonstration
And
of
I mentioned
FlipForMac.
the ProAction of Colorado chapter with their connection with their Belo Horizonte and Minas Gerais to explore business forums. And so there's a lot more things that we can do, but if you can get a feeling for the companies that are in your region, if you can get a feeling and a value for some of the culture, the background, the educational links
This
that
is
you
a
have, the
demonstration
government
of
links that you have,
FlipForMac.
and the forum capabilities that you might have, I think all of a sudden you begin to see your chapter in a new light, and I think you begin to see your chapter as very relevant in this socio-cultural, economic activity that's going on very strongly now between our North and South Hemisphere. And if nothing else, I would invite
This is a
you
demonstration of
to invite your
FlipForMac.
local companies just to socialize with you. You know, I know all you chapters have nice events, and for example, I know Colorado has churrascarias and nice restaurants, and they have an ability to go there. What a prime opportunity to just invite some of the companies to show up and meet you folks that have all this experience, this cultural experience. And it's a good way to
This is a
introduce
demonstration
yourselves on
of
a social
FlipForMac.
level, and begin to show some prestige to your private sector, and to begin to show some value. That's what the private sector understands, and that's how they'll kind of look at you, just so you're not surprised by this. But I think that's important for you to do. Okay, my next slide, mutual benefit. Again, every time we
This
talk
is a
about
demonstration
partnerships or
of
relationships,
FlipForMac.
there is a mutual benefit. And this, I think, gets us into the discussion of sustainability. If you actually believe that your mission already exists within educational, cultural, and you have a truly sustainable livelihood objectives, then I think you fit in very well. And I think what you're going to find is that your private sector companies have this also as their same mission. And more and
This
more
is a
than
demonstration of
ever, our
FlipForMac.
companies are socially aware, they're environmentally aware, and that softens this approach. You know, it doesn't make them taboo anymore. It just means how do we approach them. But we all have to agree that investment and job growth really are common objectives. All we want to do, even as an organization, remember, we talk about changing lives, and what better way to do that than make sustainability not just for
This is a
organizations,
demonstration of
but for the people
FlipForMac.
that we interact with and the people that partners have been working with for the last 40-some years. And so I think that we can explore. Now we get down to business. If you find yourself having a value and there's a way that you can present yourself and help facilitate some of this positive business interaction that's going on with the technologies and better lives.
This is a
Then I think
demonstration
we're more
of
in a
Flip for
position
Mac.
to explore a fee for service, and this is what I prefer to recommend as opposed to approaching businesses for membership fees. I don't think businesses see themselves as wanting to be a member so much as, again, they look at a value, they look at a relationship with your organization, and then I think you're in a situation to say, hey, you know, if we can help you find good interns, if we can help you translate,
This
if
is
we
a
can help you
demonstration of
with your
Flip for Mac.
websites, if you think this is of value to you, you know, maybe there's another way you can help sustain our efforts here, and that's what I would recommend. But always think of yourselves as a business proposition, and that's as hardcore as it might get for you. And then think down the road, if you can prove yourself as a partner
This is a
with private
demonstration
sector,
of Flip for Mac.
relationships, and you have a proven service delivery, I think you can begin to look at a position where your capabilities or our capabilities exist to pursue maybe corporate, private foundation, even banking industry support. Remember, I place all my emphasis on the small and medium-sized companies, and I think they prefer to see how you can help them
This is a
understand
demonstration
their
of Flip
international
for Mac.
positioning. But then remember, too, that there are also larger corporations out there, and many of them have their own foundations that go in this direction, you know. And I think that's where we sit with our history and our NGO status and our nonprofit status. And I think that there has to be support for that. It's everything we're talking about nationally.
This
here in
is
the
a
United States, our
demonstration
government,
of
and
Flip
it's
for
everything
Mac.
you're hearing down in Brazil and South America. And again, I encourage consider regional chapter collaborations. And then I think we're at a point, and I may have gone a little bit too long. I hope not, Michael. But we're at a point for maybe questions. I want to hear a little bit about your experiences and maybe your observations. And so with that, I want to say thank you so much.
This is a demonstration of
for your
Flip for
time.
Mac.
I'm trying to change my last slide here. Thank you for your time and your interest and attention.
Well, no, thank you, Terry. This was an amazing presentation, and it really gets to the heart of what we're trying to solve with this program, which is sustainability. We're looking at many different approaches to raise funds, to get people
This is a
involved,
demonstration of Flip for Mac.
increase our membership, to kind of diversify our projects and the impact that we have as a volunteer network or a network of volunteers. And I want to thank you again for really pointing out some of these what are very
This is a
clear and
demonstration of Flip
sometimes
for Mac.
they're given situations like the presence that we have that we just take for granted, the name that we carry as a brand, as an organization in the hemisphere, the people that form or that can form our network. Some of them are quite well known either in their communities, in their countries.
This is a demonstration
and are
of Flip for
influential
Mac.
in a variety of areas. And how can we best leverage these resources in our network, and how can we use that to then make approaches to different sectors and engage new participants, new donors, etc., as I mentioned, to solve that question of
This is a
sustainability.
demonstration of Flip for Mac.
I know we have a few people that are that have some questions. I'd like to start with Lynn Allen. I will just unmute you. Hi, Lynn. You had a question regarding donations.
Yes, Michael, it has to do with the main reason that people would want to contribute to a particular organization.
This is a demonstration
Terry, could
of Flip4Mac.
you, is there anything that you'd like to add on that regarding how or corporations or private sectors choose a particular cause to donate to? Is that correct, Lynn?
Yes, it is.
Have you had an opportunity to go visit, Lynn, with any organizations, or do you have any experience doing that?
This is a demonstration of
Some.
Flip4Mac.
And if I'm understanding your question right, are you suggesting that there might be corporations out there that would be willing to support the types of activities that we've been talking about here for the last hour?
Yes, and it really seems that if an organization were approached, if a private corporation were approached by several different opportunities to invest, that in discerning which
This
of
is a
those that they'd want to
demonstration of
contribute to, it
Flip4Mac.
seems to be an alignment of what the corporate interests are with what the
Yeah,
partners
exactly.
or other interests are. So I was just wondering if you could be more specific about how to really draw that line clearly.
I think that there's two levels here, and when we say corporate, then we tend to think on a large scale. If we were to do that, I would think that there are some large corporations that have major
This is a
investments,
demonstration of Flip4Mac.
well, let me bring up one specific that I'm aware of, and that's Valmont. Valmont, of course, is the world's largest irrigation company. They're located here in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. They have facilities in Uberaba, in Minas Gerais, and they have set up their own foundation, as a matter of fact, for water. And they've involved our University of Nebraska here quite heavily in this.
This is a demonstration
so that
of
they could perform,
Flip4Mac.
research that makes best utilization of water and irrigation use around the world. They themselves would have very specific interest in this. And in the case of, I would say Brazil, what I'm more familiar with, if anybody is advancing the use of agriculture or water purification or water safety or something in that
This
regard,
is a demonstration of Flip4Mac.
that would stand out a lot easier for them to invest in, yes. That is something they would invest in. And so then we're back to, are we helping advance very solid agricultural practices that are environmental, that are very efficient? And if we can relate ourselves to that somehow as a Partners of the Americas or companies we're involved with, then I think
This is
that
a
would be a very good
demonstration
approach.
of Flip4Mac.
Again, if you're working with smaller corporates, and I think you're in a position where they understand that you're helping facilitate positive, constructive business relationships, and even to the point of forums where we begin to understand what are the agricultural needs, what are the water needs, what are the big infrastructure projects.
This
that are
is a
moving water, say, in
demonstration of
northeast,
Flip4Mac.
Brazil. And can we help with some of those corporate efforts up here, just through that understanding? You know, the introduction I made of Union Pacific as an example. Is there interest for those kinds of corporations, larger or smaller, that would want to invest in these kinds of economic development activities? And I would say, yeah. And I think you can do some research, as we have done with our chapter.
This
in-
is a
in our
demonstration
region,
of Flip4Mac.
looking at some of these corporate sources, and some do actually target economic development areas. I would call forming business relationships, forming understanding of industries and industry opportunities. Yeah, you'd have to do your homework a little bit. On the other scale, I think if you get known in your region as someone who
This is a
really
demonstration
is
of
supportive of
Flip4Mac.
advancing the educational, the cultural, the technologies of businesses that improve livelihoods and jobs, and investments through awareness and education. I think you approach companies directly on that basis, and again, if they can see your value to this, the smaller companies, the smaller corporates would look to see that value directly relating to them. The larger corporates
This is
want
a
to see the
demonstration
industry move,
of
okay?
Flip for Mac.
And so it depends on your scale, and I hope I responded to your question.
Absolutely. Thank you very much,
Sure.
Terry. Thank you.
But don't be afraid to approach them, I guess is what I'm saying. Go and do that, and be in a position to show them that you understand what it takes for them to advance, in this case, water policies and protected water policies and efficient.
This is a demonstration
water.
of Flip for
Water
Mac.
is one of the most important things around the globe that's going on today. And so anything we can do to help support that or create the awareness or support the technology of water safety, that's huge stuff. And that's, for example, that's where Valmont has their money. That's where they put their foundation dollars.
Thank you very much, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Terry. We have a couple of
This is a
questions from Christine
demonstration
Smirsky
of
from
Flip for
Illinois.
Mac.
First, Christine would like to know if they could entice you to visit Chicago and share your expertise with the chapter.
I'm always easily enticed to Chicago. I love Chicago. In fact, I was there less than a month ago. I was invited to be on a panel.
This is a demonstration
Chicago
of Flip
area,
for
and I
Mac.
think this was a multi-state panel on U.S. investment in Brazil, and I was very happy to be there. And I think it's important that the more we can do in the Midwest to number one, create the awareness in the Midwest of the importance of our sister states and what we're doing, and just advance the every time I go down
This
to
is
Brazil,
a demonstration
I usually
of Flip for Mac.
ask me, Terry, we don't want you just to represent Nebraska, we want you to represent the U.S. Midwest. And so we have marketing efforts to do. And so, and I'm aware we have our new consulate in Chicago with the new commercial office in Chicago as well. So, yeah, Christine, I'd be happy to. I'd love to.
And she mentioned that they have a party on August 14th. So if there's any way
This
to
is a
plan
demonstration
for that,
of
that
Flip
would
for
be
Mac.
that'd be good. And I will share with. I'm sure she'll be getting in touch with you shortly via email. She also wanted to ask if you had any contacts with Brazilian firms with representatives in Chicago or U.S. firms in Brazil.
Yes, both ways. In fact, I had actually through our business fellows. I mean, this
is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
That we formed through the business fellows. I'm still in contact with all our business fellows, and I get calls from Brazilian companies up here looking for U.S. partners, and that's really rare because for the last the first 4 years that I've been working between U.S. and Brazil, representing U.S. interests in Brazil, it was very difficult because the Brazilian side was not so responsive. You know, they really enjoyed
This is a
China
demonstration
coming in and
of
putting
Flip
a
for
lot
Mac.
of money down in Brazil. And in fact, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Now that Brazil begins to understand that China really is interested in buying up all the resources, Brazil and South America, the balance of South America is beginning to say, wait a minute, actually we want to start investing in our own futures. Why would we sell out all the natural resources that we have? What do we do then in the future?
This
So
is a demonstration of
this
Flip
is
for
beginning
Mac.
to pervade the climate down in Brazil, and so now the Brazilians are getting a little frantic, and they're now requesting U.S. partnerships because what do we know in U.S. Even though our economy is somewhat down, we're very lean. We have the best business models. We have the technologies. We have the science. We have the engineering. These are all things that we need to share through partnerships. And so, yes. And
This
in fact,
is a
yesterday
demonstration
I got calls
of
from
Flip
two
for
Brazilian
Mac.
companies looking for U.S. partners up here. And for that reason, and they're saying, Terry, this needs to happen quickly, though, because everything that's going on in Brazil is happening like right now. You know, the moment is now, they say. And so one of our biggest challenges is to prepare our small and medium-sized companies in particular how to move quickly. You know, and how
This
to
is a
get into the right kinds
demonstration of Flip for
relationships
Mac.
and how to do that. So I'm seeing this from both sides. Yes. And
And,
that's what I say. Yeah, feel comfortable in going out and meeting those companies. I think that you'll find the conversation quickly advances. One point, Michael, before we go further, one point I wanted to make earlier that I didn't is we're in this process with the Nebraska chapter, and as we're putting more and more emphasis on getting to have private
This
sector
is a
relationships.
demonstration
That's not
of
the only
Flip for
thing
Mac.
we're doing here. We're advancing our cultural activities and exchanges and educational exchanges as well. But one thing we've neglected to do in the past, if you want to move more into this direction, and if you heard what I said, it's difficult to bring actual companies into your membership roles. Start to invite professional service members. And again, that's what I understood as part of a citizen effect.
This is a demonstration of
we have
Flip
to
for
become
Mac.
more innovative, and we have to begin to bring new perspectives into our organizations. And if you can bring in some of the professionals, you know, even some of the attorneys, even maybe some of the bankers, and you may have some consultants that understand how this business is done, and they would be paying members. They will be paying members. But that's one way to also build your membership.
This is a
and also be
demonstration
little bit
of
more
Flip for Mac.
comfortable in conversing on the commercial side. So I want to make sure I got that statement included.
No, that's a very good point. We hear sometimes that, you know, for example, if someone has a background in only maybe in education or as a nurse or different types of backgrounds, they may feel a little bit uncomfortable about approaching a private company. But I think
This
that's
is a demonstration
the
of Flip for
diversification
Mac.
of the membership itself is a strength that should
Yes.
be leveraged.
Exactly.
And just to add one point, as some of you may know, the Business Fellows program that we're currently administering, that's going to be ending this year, and we're currently applying for a grant. That's called the Legislative Fellows Program, but that's going to be covering both government
This is a
and business fellows,
demonstration
even though
of
it's
Flip for
called
Mac.
Legislative Fellows. But there's always ways that we want to work with our chapters to see if, well, are there any other types of hybrid projects or programs that we can develop with you that may be administered by one or more chapters that can really kind of lead a business fellowship type project that run through our chapters. And these are some of the types of projects that we're
This
more
is a
than
demonstration of Flip for
to
Mac.
listening to, and we want to suggest these to our chapters. And I have no doubt that there's the expertise to run a program like that within our chapter and our network.
Yeah, Michael, I think that's a really good point. You know, I have always been a supporter of Business Fellows program because it helped introduce, you know, this difficult concept
This is a
that we have,
demonstration of Flip for Mac.
of interfacing private sector relationships with, you know, our nonprofit status and some things that we do. And as this program ends, I think it is an opportunity to begin to look at maybe new ways of interfacing with sustainable efforts and sustainable partners. You know, and
This is a demonstration
is
of Flip
almost
for Mac.
of a necessity. Because we have to understand, fully appreciate the role for our partners nationally, as even our federal government budget becomes more restrictive. But you know, the point that Christina from Illinois made, the timing is also that there's much stronger interest all of a sudden between Brazil and South
This is a
America
demonstration
to advance
of
their
Flip for Mac.
socioeconomic situations, and there's more of a need now, I think more of a visible need to be looking for U.S. kinds of partners. And that's why we were very much interested in developing that 6-step model. I mean, we did that with our Brazilian counterparts. And, you know, I think there's funding sources out there. Lynn, I think the point I got from Lynn was we actually need to be a little bit more aggressive.
This is a demonstration of
and get out
Flip4Mac.
there and find out how, if we can help fulfill a function and serve as a conduit, and we know what it is we do, we know our limitations, but we know that we can help build some sustainable areas, and if it's not providing potable water or bringing agricultural food, and you know, we hear every day what's going on in Somalia. Those are
This is a
important issues
demonstration
that
of
actually are
Flip4Mac.
addressed through the private sector, but they're addressed with good government help, with university help, and I think with Partners of the Americas help. And so I think the timing is really good to take a close look at this and maybe be a little bit more aggressive and look at other ways that we could support this financially.
Excellent. And we have one last question for today's webinar. From Yanni
This is a demonstration
Lopez.
of Flip4Mac.
I'm going to unmute you from Indiana, also partnered with Brazil.
Hi, Yanni.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think it's just tremendous that Terry has offered this. He's helped collaborate some with our group, and we were able to use some of that impetus to get involved in the Business Fellows program. So I just wanted to say how sad we are that it's going away.
I know.
This is
I
a
think
demonstration
Terry
of
pointed out something. I
Flip4Mac.
was really caught by what he said about the need to build from informal to formal business relationships, and how, you know, how to help people understand that. I think that we saw the informal start developing the kind of the first step from no relationship to the informal with the business fellow, and we hope to keep that going to the more formal and ongoing. But
This is a
anything that we
demonstration
can
of
do,
Flip4Mac.
you know, that we can work together and try to find and bring to partners, maybe to help use this experience Terry has had, and use the experience of the fellows, and find our mechanisms to do that would be great. So I just wanted to kind of cheerlead about that and say thanks and what a great program it was. And then ask when you think we might know about the legislative fellows, or what that process is like.
This is a demonstration
Regarding the
of
legislative fellows, we
Flip4Mac.
should be hearing back within the next month or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so that should be fairly soon. And that
And
also,
it would be a program then for the next calendar year.
I don't have all the details on the program, but I think the first class would be for this year. So it'd be a quick turnaround. But I'd have to get more information for
This
you
is
on
a
that.
demonstration of Flip4Mac.
Okay.
And thanks, Johnny. I appreciate the comments.
And I'd just like to just inform all the participants of a new project that we're putting together. It's a new program. It's called Partners Campus, in which we are developing a model for student-led chapters for university and community colleges. This is kind of in response to
This is a demonstration of
requests that we've heard
Flip4Mac.
time and again from our members as to, you know, how do we engage youth, how do we get them involved, how do we start diversifying our membership to include a younger population. And we are putting this together. I can send more information to those of you who are interested in this project. Right now it's in a pilot stage.
This is a
and this really
demonstration
relates
of
to
Flip4Mac.
Terry's point about the internships and these and getting universities involved. So we will be sharing that with you. We already have a full handbook ready, a web page. I mean, it's all coming together, and it should be rolling out within the next couple of months. So
Great.
we'll be piloting that at American University here in Washington, and we've
This is
already
a demonstration
gotten a few
of
of our
Flip4Mac.
chapters to volunteer to participate in this. For example, Minnesota. I know that Eric Brand, who is a participant in this program, he's very interested. Kansas as well. So we're looking at having a few pilots just to test the model and make sure that it's ready to roll out in full force.
This is a
hopefully
demonstration of
next
Flip
year.
for Mac.
And Lynn, you have one final question?
Yes, I do. I'm very interested in the Partners Campus program. I teach at the University of Northern Colorado in Communication Studies, School of Communication, and I'd be very interested in receiving information about that.
Will do. We'll send it to you right after this webinar.
Thank you, Michael.
Sure thing. And I'd like to remind everyone
This is a
that
demonstration of
webinars
Flip
can
for Mac.
be are being recorded and can be viewed again on if you visit our webpage, and I'll send out the link for that right after this presentation. We already have the last 4 presentations on YouTube, so you can view them again. You can share them with your chapter members and other chapters and your counterpart as well.
This is a demonstration of
if
Flip for Mac.
there aren't any questions, I'd like to just thank Terry for your great presentation. It's the perfect, I think, the perfect continuation to the discussions that we've had already regarding effective fundraising, marketing, and now we're really looking at, well, now that
This is a
once we start
demonstration
developing our
of Flip for Mac.
fundraising strategies and our outreach strategies and knowing how to better reach out to different constituents, different potential partners. Now we're really going to get into, well, who do we reach out to and how do we actually work with them? So the next presentation will be on grants and approaching foundations.
This is a demonstration
and also working
of Flip
within
for
some
Mac.
government procurement methods. So I know some of our chapters have worked with receiving government grants before, foundation grants, and it will be Lindsay Suggs, our Director for Research Development, who will be leading that presentation. And we hope to have you all on that webinar. Also, Terry, you're invited to participate, and
Great.
if you'd like to sit in
This
on
is
that.
a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
So stay tuned. That'll be in 2 weeks from today. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. If you see on the screen, you will see Terry's contact information, and I will also circulate that in the email. So I hope that everyone is as pleased as us here at in Washington with this great webinar, and thank you again, Terry. And,
This is a demonstration
we will be speaking
of Flip for
shortly.
Mac.
So see you again in
My
2
pleasure.
weeks, and have a great couple of weeks, and good luck with your fundraising, and we hope to hear more about your work.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Terry. Bye, everyone.